Today I'm going to show you how to make hidden piston stairs. I've been wanting to revamp my original piston stairs videos for quite some time now, and here's the result. In order to make the hidden piston stairs, you're going to need to be familiar with AND gates as well as XOR gates. If you're not familiar with either, or would like a refresher, I would highly recommend reviewing the linked tutorials before proceeding. Let's get started. Let's see what happens when I come down and flip this lever. There's two levers, one on the inside and one on the outside. We've seen it from the outside. Now let's have a look and see what happens from the inside. And now I'm going to peel away the top layer and show the completed device. It looks a little complicated, but don't worry, I'm going to go over it one piece at a time. First, I'm going to start with an XOR gate. If you're not familiar with XOR gates, I would highly recommend reviewing this linked tutorial before proceeding. Now I'm going to show you how to connect both levers to both inputs on the XOR gate. However, I would recommend that you wait until you've completed the finished device before doing it yourself. It's a lot easier to place the levers correctly and not interfere with anything else once you have the complete device to work with. We're going to start by placing a block, and then placing a second block to the right and one block up. Then we're going to place some redstone wire, and we're going to finish with a third block placed above the second block. There'll be one gap between it, and it'll have a lever on top of it. And that takes care of the upper lever. Now I'm going to take care of the bottom lever. The first thing we're going to do is dig a little trench to run the wire in. The lowest part of the trench is 4 blocks deep. Again, I'd recommend doing this after building the device because it's much easier to position stuff properly. Then we're going to place redstone wire, and then the lever, and finally we're going to cover it up again. The completed device consists of two main parts. The top part takes care of raising and lowering the floor and pulling it aside, and the bottom part takes care of raising and lowering the stairs and pulling them aside. I'm going to start with the top part. First, we need an AND gate, and then I'm going to connect the output of the XOR gate to both inputs of the AND gate and put 2 redstone repeaters on one of the inputs, both of which will be set to 4-tick delays. This will have the effect of causing this part of the device to turn on slowly but turn off quickly. If you'd like some more information on how that works, I would recommend checking out the linked AND gate tutorial. Now we have 2 sets of pistons that we have to worry about. We have to worry about the set of pistons that is in charge of raising and lowering the floor, as well as the set of pistons that's in charge of pulling the floor aside. I'm going to do the circuitry for the set of pistons that raise and lowers the floor first. We start with some redstone wire, and then we dig a hole, place a redstone torch, run a little bit more redstone wire, place 3 redstone repeaters, and 3 redstone torches. Now we actually have to power 4 pistons instead of 3. However, we can't use a redstone torch for the 4th piston because the bottom stair will be in the way. So instead, I'm just going to place a redstone repeater, a block, and some redstone wire, and that will let us power the 4th piston. As you can see, the bottom step is clearly in the way and prevents us from using a redstone torch. Now that we've taken care of powering the pistons that are in charge of raising and lowering the floor, let's take care of powering the pistons that are in charge of pulling the floor aside and pushing it back into place. First, we're going to place 2 blocks by 4 blocks with an extra block hanging off the edge. Then we're going to place a second layer of 2 blocks by 4 blocks. Now we're going to place 6 redstone repeaters. Please note that one of the repeaters in this group of 2 needs to be set to 4 ticks. All other repeaters can be set to 1 tick. Now the redstone wire, and finally all of the pistons. We're going to start with the group of 8 pistons that are in charge of pushing the floor aside and pulling it back, starting with the 4 bottom pistons, the 4 top pistons, and now the group of 4 pistons that is in charge of raising and lowering the floor. Finally, we have the 4 blocks that actually make up the floor. Now all we have to do is try it out. Now, before I get to the bottom part, I just wanted to say a couple of things. If you're having trouble following along, I'd recommend watching the videos full screen in HD. They're a lot easier to follow that way. Also, if you haven't reviewed the circuit tutorials that I linked to at the beginning of the video, I'd highly recommend it. And finally, if all else fails, you can always download a copy of my development world, which I link to in the video description, and see the completed device. Now let's get started with the bottom part of the device. This part of the device is in charge of controlling the stairs. It will push and pull them into and out of place. Like the top part, we're going to need an AND gate. It's also wired in a similar fashion. However, this section here is an inverter because when the top part of the device is on, the bottom part should be turned off, and vice versa. Also, if you look closely, these 2 redstone repeaters are both set to 1 tick in this video. However, they're supposed to be set to 4 ticks, and the device won't work properly if they're both set to 1. Now, unlike the top part of the device, which needed to raise and lower 4 pieces of floor, the bottom part only needs to raise and lower 1 piece of stair. The other 2 pieces that move only need to be pushed in and out, and the 4th piece is stationary and doesn't move at all. To wire the single piston that is in charge of raising and lowering the stair, we're going to run some redstone wire, place 2 blocks, and then finish off with a final piece of redstone wire and a redstone repeater. Now, to wire the 3 pistons in charge of pushing the stairs out and then pulling them back into place again, we're going to start by placing it 2 by 3 blocks with an extra block hanging off the bottom, and then another layer of 2 by 3 blocks and 5 redstone repeaters. Just to note that all 5 of these repeaters can be set to 1 tick. Then we're going to place the redstone wire. To finish things off, I'm going to place the 2 lower pistons, the 2 upper pistons, the piston in charge of raising and lowering the stair, and finally all 4 stairs. Now it's time to see it in action. And finally, here's the completed device once more. Let's have a look at it in action with everything in place. If you like this tutorial and would like to see more, why not subscribe to my channel? That way you'll be notified when I post new ones in the future. As always, I've posted a link to a copy of my development world in the video description. If you'd like to have a look at this project or see any of my other projects, I'd highly recommend downloading it and taking a look.